Welcome to the Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network by Run, Try, Bike. My name is Jason Bahamundi, and I will be your host for today's show. I'm super excited about my guest because I've been talking to Kwame Terra, the founder of Behr Health, a comprehensive health tracking platform focused on the Black community, for a few months now. His team reached out to talk about getting some exposure on our website, and I was all in on it when I read some of the background on Kwame and the Behr Health platform. And I just thought it was an amazing idea and something I wanted to help share with our community and get some exposure for Kwame's business. So if that name is familiar, it is because there is a story on our website about how running and entrepreneurialism go hand in hand. So head to runtrimag.com after the show and search for Kwame on the site. It'll be the first article that pops up. Today, we'll get into a little bit more about Behr Health. We'll get into a little bit more about Kwame and Soul Running and find out where all of this is headed and ask him where it is today in comparison to where he thought it might be today. But before I bring him on, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. You can also leave a comment on Spotify if that is your preferred podcast platform, and please do so. It really does help us generate interest in our platform, as well as get us some great guests like Kwame and the Behr Health app. So without any further ado and any more rambling and stumbling over words from me, let's get Kwame onto the show. Hey, Kwame, how you doing, man?
Hey, Jason, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm better because I get to talk to you for a second time now, which is super exciting for me.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I mentioned in the intro was the Behr Health app, and I don't want to butcher it in saying what it does and what it doesn't do. So I want to give the floor to you to explain to the audience what this business is and what this concept is so that they have a better understanding as we go through the conversation.
Sure. I think it's important to start with the problem that we're trying to solve. I think all good startups are designed to solve real problems for people and for communities and countries. And so I think it's important to start there. In the United States, there's about a 6-year life expectancy gap between Black people and the rest of the population. So average life expectancy in the Black community is 72 years compared to the average of 78 years in the rest of the population. Now, 6 years might not sound like a lot when you've lived 72, depending on who you are. But when you extrapolate that across the entire Black population, there are 50 million people. That 6 years turns into 268 million years of time cumulatively across the Black population that is lost, life lost, time lost, which obviously we all know is our most valuable asset. And so we created Behr Health to recapture that time, that life lost in the Black community, so that we can use that time to invest in our families, invest in our futures, build, grow, and really, again, give ourselves the best chance that we can have at reaching our full potential as a community. And so that's really what Behr Health is about. And we're going to achieve that goal by predicting, preventing, and reversing the chronic conditions that plague our community.
That number that you gave is super powerful. And it makes me wonder if when you're talking to potential customers, if the first reaction is 6 years, right, versus millions of years, and the accumulated amount of community, the accumulated amount of intelligence, the accumulated amount of connection that gets lost when you multiply that out. Does that open people's eyes?
It's actually a recent framing of the problem for us. We haven't always framed it that way, but we made that pivot because as I started sharing the problem that way, it really gripped people. And honestly, it grips me as I even pitch it that way,
Yeah.
more so than the way that we were pitching it before. Because again, health is a bit abstract to people, but time isn't.
Right.
Right. We understand that the power of time in every aspect of our lives. And so, and then to see how much time is lost, preventable time lost in the Black community. I think it really does just help people understand exactly what this is all about. We're trying to recapture that because it is
Yeah,
recapturable.
absolutely. In my mind, I'm envisioning, if you recall, they used to have the deficit clock on the wall in New York City and accumulating. And when you tell somebody $1 or $1,000. It doesn't seem like much, and then all of a sudden, that clock, you see it, it's in the trillions of dollars, and the impact that that has. I would imagine when you're talking to people about how you can help them recapture those millions of years, really must resonate with them. Because I also envision, and you can help me if I'm incorrect here, that when you do talk to them, the envisionment of getting those years back is to spend time with their families, and all of a
Hmm.
sudden that becomes an eye opener as well.
Hmm. Absolutely. And right now, it's not obvious to me what the current trajectory is for life expectancy in the Black community. But again, as it stands right now, it's 78 years. But I hear stories every day of Black people losing their lives in their late 40s, early 50s to heart attacks, strokes, and these are Black men, Black women, all demographics. And I don't know what the actual life expectancy will be in 5, 10 years on our current trajectory. But again, our goal is to reverse that.
We've been talking about the app and the business itself and what the future looks like, but you had to have start somewhere. And how did you get started with this? Was it because you were looking at 72 years of life expectancy versus 78, or was there another catalyst to this?
Yeah, so it was actually during the COVID-19 pandemic. So just like everybody else, I was devastated by the effect that the virus was having on the Black community, and I just wanted to do something so that next pandemic or next challenge that we face, we were in better health to have a better outcome. And I actually received a text message from my aunt, who is a physician's assistant in Texas, and she was working, at the height of the pandemic, treating several patients who were coming in with comorbidities like hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and obviously those who were dealing with the most severe outcomes related to COVID. And she just texted me and said, "Hey, I think this would be a great time for you to kick off your healthy eating initiative." Again, so I'm the person in the family who eats a plant based diet. And at every Thanksgiving, everybody asks me if I eat fish or if I eat, you know, all these things that aren't plant based. 10 years later. But that's what she was referring to when she was talking about my healthy eating initiative. And this was what I came up with. My first thought was, I don't think we know how bad we're doing as it relates to our health in the Black community. We know we're not doing our best, but again, I don't think many of us know that if we don't get it together in a short period of time, we can have a heart attack at the age of 45. My mom lost a good friend at the age of 46 to a stroke,
Oh,
and
wow.
leaving their 13-year-old son to have to grow without a father. And again, there's that problem again that we were talking about in the beginning. Life cut short significantly. So now that's less time that father had with his son. That's less time that son had with his father,
Yep.
and then that's widening that gap, that disparity that exists in every facet of life between the Black community and the rest of the population. Um, and so that's what I'm trying to prevent from happening. Because fortunately, these conditions, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, many cancers, um, they're reversible conditions. They didn't develop overnight, and they won't be reversed or managed without medication overnight. But I was talking to a guy a couple of weeks ago at an event, and he was asking me stuff about health because I was building this company, and he's like, "Yeah, I had have been diagnosed with hypertension recently, but I don't have it anymore." And I was like, "Well, what did you do, if you don't mind me asking?" He said, "Well, I stopped smoking, I stopped drinking, and I started running." And now he doesn't have hypertension or elevated blood pressure. And it really is that simple for the most part. Again, there are unique conditions where it is absolutely genetic and there's not much you can do about it. But on the whole, 90% of the conditions that we treat in our medical system are preventable conditions, and in many cases reversible conditions. And I really want people to understand just how simple it is. I'm not saying it's easy to change your life. That's my job, is to make it easy for you to change your life.
Right.
That's what our mission is. But as far as what to do, it's very simple.
It's funny, you kind of stole the question out of my mouth because it is a simple concept, right? I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, I started running. Replace running with walking, cycling, some sort of physical activity, right? And the other two components are still the same. It's simple, yet it seems to be so hard for people to make that change. So how does your business make it easier, as you just said?
Sure. So I've been learning the answer to that question along the way, right? So when you have an idea, at least at the beginning you think it's a great idea. And I'm
Yes.
not saying that my idea at the beginning was bad. It's just not as good as the idea is now.
Right.
And I've spent again so much time in this problem over the past year and a half that I don't even know if I'm still working on the same idea that I had at first. I just know that I'm closer to solving the problem, and that's what's important. Any startup, again, like I said in the beginning, is designed to solve a problem. And part of how startups are able to go from very, very tiny company to taking over, industries is because they are talking to more people who are dealing with a problem and testing more solutions against those problems and then modifying those solutions and ideas over and over and over again, more times than these, giant companies, legacy companies are in a shorter period of time. And then they find something,
Hmm.
they find a sweet spot, and then it scales. That's really what happens with startups. And so that's what I'm trying to do right now. And what our ultimate vision, or our first goal, is to communicate clearly to the Black community our current health status. And we do that through our health score. So our health score is a number between 0 and 1,000 that represents your overall health. And on our app, your score, any score below 480 is considered fair. 480 to 550 is considered good. It's considered fair. Sorry. If it's below 480, it's considered low. 550 to 610 is good. 610 to 675 is very good. And then anything above 680 is considered excellent. So those are kind of the ranges. Again, you can think about it kind of like a credit score, but for your health.
Yep.
And your score is going to change in real time depending on how you change. So it's not just a static snapshot of your score, right? If you go on a walk or a run one day, your score is going to go up. If you are inactive for a week, your score is going to go down. If you're out drinking late one night, your resting heart rate is going to go up, so your physical health score is going to go down. You're going to sleep less, so your sleep score is going to go down, and your overall score goes down. So it's a really dynamic score that again changes as you change. And when it comes to helping people understand how their lifestyle is affecting their overall health, typically there's not much real time feedback on how your decisions are affecting your life. And I think that that's really important. So this is my first idea, my first insight is that again, we know we're not doing our best. We know we need to be eating better. We know we need to be moving more. But again, we don't understand the implications. But being able to see your score go down day to day because you're eating a certain way, or it go up because you're moving a certain way, our bodies need that that constant or our minds,
Yeah.
just as humans, we need that constant reinforcement, whether positive or negative, so that we can know how to behave, how to move, how to live our lives. Um, and then over time, as we kind of developed the platform and understood how the importance of community, the challenges that we host in the platform as really this is what you should do. We don't just say, hey, go take 10,000 steps a day. This is your health score. Go take 10,000 steps a day. We say, join this challenge and compete with your community. The outcome is often that people do take 10,000 steps a day or more. Two people did 1 million steps last month,
Well, that's
right?
awesome.
I didn't tell them to do that. They just, they just went after it, and it's two people, one 64-year-old lady and I think maybe like a 30 something year old guy. And they're obviously taking way more than 10,000 steps a day. But again, it's here's your health score. Now you know where you are. Join a challenge, come to a meetup, right? And be a part of the community and get around other people who are already in on the same mission for themselves, for elevating their overall health and wellness. The days of trying to explain all the details of trying to be healthy to people, at least I've in some sense left those behind. I don't think that it's the most effective solution. I do think it's necessary for the initiation. I think like a workshop or a seminar, right, or juice fast, right, where you got people's attention for a short period of time, can be useful to pique the interest and get people engaged. But then immediately you need to get them in a community, whether digital or in person, that will reinforce that behavior. Because otherwise, they're going to fall back right back into where they
Right.
were before. And naturally, as we do, we just get back to our old ways.
I mean, shout out to those two people for walking a million steps. I've been in Boston, New York City, and Chicago over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and in all of July, I took 500,000 steps. So
Hmm.
for me to visually think about doubling that
Yeah.
incredible. So congratulations
Mhm.
to those two participants for doing it. And I think what you said hits home for me too, because I think if you tell somebody, go take 10,000 steps on a daily basis or however often you would tell them to do that, that seems insurmountable for some people. Like 10,000 steps seems like a lot, whether we can visualize it or not. But if you put it into sort of a gamification, if you would, with people of your community, and you get together and you walk to the grocery store because it's a half mile away versus drive to the grocery store, you're picking up those steps and it's getting returned to you on the app that they can
Mhm.
see. Okay, I walked to the grocery store, I picked up my food items, and I walked back. And look, my score went up. I think that's genius, in all honesty. I
Mhm.
think that's really, really smart in helping to lower the barrier to entry for people to get healthier, because oftentimes we're presented with numbers that seem just so out of the realm of possibility for us. And
Mhm.
so, was that part of the initial thought process with the business? Because you said where you started and where you are today are in different places and how you think about this. Was it always an idea of, I'm going to gamify this in a sense to get people to be more in community with their neighbors as opposed to go take 10,000 steps?
No, no, I don't even think I knew what the word gamify meant. 4 or 5 years ago when I came up with the idea, I heard people say that oftentimes when I would explain the idea, but I actually didn't know that I was explaining gamification. Um, Again, the idea was to first just help people understand that they're at risk, that they're if they're based on their lifestyle, they're at risk for certain health conditions. And that's all we really did in our first year, 2023, because we didn't have the app at the time. We had an online health score assessment. And in 2023, we asked 1,400 people if they want to know their health score, and they completed our assessment and honestly started sharing a lot with us about their lives, which was interesting to me. And also was a strong indication of the lack of, I guess, time they get to spend with providers, right? The lack of information they get to share with providers. That's also very important for your health. Oftentimes, one of our questions is, how many hours of sleep do you get per night? Or how do you feel about the quality of your sleep? So I can't tell you how many times people said, my doctors never asked me that. And this isn't a knock on doctors. It's just surprising to me that the most important factor of your overall health outside of purpose and community, which is sleep, isn't the top priority of an institution designed um, to heal people.
Right.
At least a part of it.
It's shocking. No, it's shocking that that's not a question that would be asked routinely, right?
Hmm.
Do you smoke? Do you drink? How many hours of sleep do you get a night? Like that
That's
should be
absolutely,
right.
they are equal
Yeah,
at
and
least.
it is shocking to believe and hear that that's not a question that's asked. And for any physician who's listening or may watch this later on, tell us why that's not a common question that is asked. And if you do ask it, why don't other doctors ask it? Because I
Mhm.
would be interested in knowing that.
Yeah.
Real quick shout out to Minnie, who's watching us on Instagram. She said you're a hero for doing what you're doing, and I can't disagree with her. I love what you're putting together. Um, you kind of sort of answered this question when we talked about the 72 years versus 78 years in terms of lifespan, but um, community, like you're focused on the Black community, and I'm wondering, have other people of the Black community resonated with this idea that you didn't think would resonate? So maybe younger people that you didn't think might be interested in it are interested, or maybe older people in the community are interested in it that you didn't think would be interested in it. Has there been something surprising from the community to you in terms of building this business out?
Yeah. No, I don't think that I've been surprised. That was a strategic move to focus on the Black community. It, the policies and practices and beliefs that cause the problems that we have today, the disparities that exist today, those were very targeted policies, practices, and beliefs.
100%.
Heavily invested in, designed in unique and creative ways, and again, absolutely effective. And based on my education and training, the solution should be equally targeted, equally creative, and that's why we focus on the Black community. And as far as how the Black community responds to that, I think we always appreciate things that are designed with us in mind because we live in a country that has always been exclusionary of us, right? And well, anti black people,
Hmm.
for so long. And again, we know, for example, that when a black person is cared for by a black provider, the health outcomes are better. It's unequivocal. I mean, the data is so strong around that. And back in, I don't remember what year it was, but it was very shortly after slavery. Several medical institutions were started to train black physicians because black physicians couldn't get trained at traditional institutions. Great. A few years later, or sometime later, the American Medical Association or whoever's in charge of the standards for training physicians modified the standards, which disqualified 80% of the institutions that were training black physicians. Um, Basically, it disqualified them, and basically they had to shut down because you couldn't get trained there and be an accredited physician anymore. So it left two. I mean, that was a direct attack at the health of black people in this country, and that was just an early one. And so again, it's not that I don't care about the health of the rest of the population. I'm interested in solving a specific problem that exists in
Right.
our country, that is the disparities between black people and the rest of the population. And this is the most effective way to solve that problem. And as far as again, black people's experience with it, we just appreciate things that are designed for us because we know that they're going to be better for us than other things that maybe are designed for the general population. Just like that things that are designed specifically for you, the individual, Jason, is going to be more effective than things that are designed for me, specifically Kwame, or that may be designed broadly for the rest of the population. Tailoring is effective and necessary.
Yeah, 100%. Um, how the app functions today versus what you thought it was going to be when you started putting.
So crazy, man.
What about it is crazy? Like,
Yeah, I mean, again, like my initial thought was, again, we would help people understand their current health status. They would see changes on a regular basis as they live their lives, and then make changes you know, what their goals were, and based on the changes that they saw. It's so funny, walking has become a central theme within the Behr Health community. Like it's honestly part of the culture. And it actually started because we did the Mardi Gras Steps Challenge in February 2024, where whoever took the most steps on our app won $5,000. Whoever took the most steps during Mardi Gras in 2024. Well, I actually got that idea from a 16-year-old student intern that I had in the first semester of our internship program here at Xavier. Again, she might have been a genius, and this idea wasn't necessarily a genius idea, although it has certainly influenced the company significantly. Um, but basically, it was Mardi Gras, and we were like just trialing the app. And so this is before we had publicly started promoting the app. This was kind of some internal testing, if you will. And so we were all just out and about as normal, like, and she's just playing around in the app. And again, this is the part of her that is genius to me. It's just curiosity, poking around, trying to figure out what's going on in all aspects of life. And so as she was poking around in the app, she found that she could create a challenge. And so she invited me, because you can add a friend. And so she invited me to the challenge, and she invited another one of our team members. And so we're just all walking around during Mardi Gras, uh, seeing how many steps everybody's taking. And if you ever been to Mardi Gras, you're averaging 20K a day at least, because you have to park far because everything is filled up close to the parade. And it was really fun. Well, 12 months later, that's how we launched Behr Health in the city. Mardi Gras Steps Challenge. Over 100 people joined. I don't remember exactly how many steps were taken, but the person who won did 350,000 steps, right, in 5 days. 100,000 in the first day. Yep. And,
I just looked at my steps for. I told you in July was a half a million. In June was the whole month of June was
mhm,
380,000. Like to take 350 in 1/6 of the amount of time is
mhm.
incredible.
It was absolutely incredible. And then a couple months later, Dr. Eric Griggs did 1 million steps in 30 days, and then I did it in June. Another user did it in July. Two users in August last year, and another one in October. And again, ultimately, I basically became the walking guy. Here I am trying to build a healthcare startup for the Black community, and all I managed to do is become the walking guy. And then I was like, I might as well lean in and went after the world record for the most steps in 30 days. So
Entrepreneurialism is funny that way, dude. Like when I launched this business, I had visions of being on podcasts and interviewed about how I built this business. And today I get tagged in pictures who are of people who are sharing their Oreos or whatever they're eating for dinner. And it's become more of that type of thing. And it's like, yes, let's celebrate, being able to enjoy our lives as much as it is swimming, cycling, and running. So, for every entrepreneur who's out there, the thing that you wrote down is probably not the thing you're going to end up with when it's all said and done.
And honestly, like it shouldn't be unless you are already an expert that's been in the space and been close to the problem for a long period of time.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Your current solution shouldn't be your original idea, unless you are just like some sort of super genius, and that's great, and we love that. But that's just usually not the case. I mean, I really like to depend on what I can control, and what I can control is how many people I talk to who are dealing with these problems, and how many times or how many solutions I can test against those problems so that I can get to the best one.
So you sort of buried the lead on saying I'm the steps guy. You are a world record holder for the most steps taken in a 30-day period. That's correct, right?
That's correct.
And how many steps did you end up taking in that 30-day period?
And so I finished with 2,007,178 steps.
And if I recall correctly from our first conversation, you had to average approximately 30 miles a day. Is that correct?
Yeah, 30 to 35 miles a day.
Yeah. And I mean, that's incredible. So like when you first started out on this and we talk about, 10,000 steps seem insurmountable, did 30 miles a day seem insurmountable to you until you started doing it?
Yeah, again, I wasn't sure if I could actually do it. I knew I could probably do it for a day. Right? Well, no, I knew I could do it for a day because I'd done it before.
Right.
In 2024, when several of us were going after the 1 million steps, none of us were particularly disciplined about hitting 30,000 a day. So there would be days where we do like 10 or less than 10, and so we had to make up for it eventually. So the longest day when I did the 1 million was actually 87,000 steps, about 89,000 steps, and that was over 40 miles. So I knew I could do a day for sure, at 30 miles. So,
Yeah.
but every day for 30 days, wasn't sure about that.
I also wrote down a note here, and I wanted to, before I forget, is you've mentioned genius, and you referred to the intern who came up with the Mardi Gras step challenge as somewhat genius. Is that the same person that we see in the social media videos today? Is that the same
No,
intern? No? Okay.
mm-mm.
Because
Totally different.
the person that's doing the videos today is awesome. Like I
Oh
really
yeah,
love
she's
watching
great.
it. Yeah, it's
She's great.
fantastic.
Yeah, no, the great thing about it is that I don't even have to tell her what to do. She just comes up with the stuff on her own, posts the content. My friends will send me videos that we posted on our TikTok. I'm like, oh, nice. I didn't even know we posted that, but that's a hilarious video. So
That's awesome. Like
mm,
it's when you have people that are rowing the boat in the same direction with you who don't have to be told how to row the boat in the same direction, it frees up time for you to go do other things and manage other parts of the business, which get you to your destination much sooner if you're not spending that time doing that stuff.
absolutely.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you as we've been talking here too, and I wrote this down as a note, is inputs. How does the information get into the app? Is there, is the user inputting it? Is it a wearable? How does that happen?
Yeah. So it's all technically self-reported, meaning that it's coming directly from an individual and going into the platform. Some of that self-reported data is automatically uh, gone or automatically goes into the platform. So that's if you're wearing an Apple Watch, so we'll track your heart rate, we'll track your steps, we'll track your workouts. Like if you log your workout on the app, track your sleep. All of those things can be tracked automatically. The other categories of health that we track, such as nutrition or mindfulness or mental well-being, those things are captured through survey data. So you have to go in and answer some questions of how many servings of fruits and vegetables do you eat per day, how many candy bars do you eat per week, so on and so forth, how many servings of fried chicken do you eat per week. And these things, again, we can't capture them currently in a very automated way. And so we have to rely on survey data right now. But we basically ask everybody to update their answers once a month,
Okay.
so that when we pull the health score report, which is a monthly report of our all of our user health insights, so the average health score overall, average health score by gender, average health score by age, and then the score in each category. So physical activity, mindfulness, sleep. We'll see the scores in each of these categories, and based on the trends, we'll use that information to inform and drive messaging and events and challenges for the next month, so that we can be responsive and again meet people where they are, and meet the whole community where they are. It's actually my favorite part about our business because it is really connected to our ultimate goal. Remember, we want to shift the trajectory of health within the Black community. And since we've been tracking the health score report, which we started tracking back in December, the average health score has gone up by about a point and a half per month. Now,
Oh
again, we have
wow.
about 2,500 people on the platform, and so for it to go up by any measure, especially in a consistent way, is really encouraging. But there have been a couple months where there was a slight dip. So, for example, from November to December, there was a significant dip in total steps, right? So I think we dropped by like 10 million. But you can make some assumptions about why people weren't moving around as much in December, or you know, um, for example, May as well. We saw a significant dip. Again, you can make some assumptions, graduation,
Right.
traveling, things like that. However, we can just say, okay, cool, there's going to be a dip in these months, or we can curate challenges to address the dips in those months. So
Right.
if you don't see a dip, or again, maybe bake it into going a little harder in June or July. And so from May to June, we actually saw a significant increase, and we had rolled out several different challenges, new challenges, more exciting challenges, did a lot more promo, and we saw a significant increase. Our most significant increase that we'd seen across or month to month so far. And so it's just that's our real product, if you ask me. It's seeing that number, that collective number change, and be moving in a trajectory that is towards our ultimate goal of maximizing health in the Black community.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about, and it refers back to the content that I've seen on the Behr Instagram account, is soul running. And I wanted
Hmm.
to ask you about that because I've seen some videos and some imagery from, um, I guess it's a team that you're on or a club that you run with, and what that role of soul running plays into the Behr Health app.
Yes, that's a really good question. So Soul Running actually wasn't originally supposed to be a run club, and that's effectively what it is now. Um, so I ran cross country and track in college, and last year, run clubs obviously became the newest big thing across the board. And we had all joined this run club in the city, and me and then four other guys, we would often be toward the front of the pack at this run club meetup. And so one of or two of them actually asked me if I would train them, because they knew that I had coached cross country and track at Xavier. And so we went out and did a workout. And at the next meetup, they were all working on some of the things that I had kind of taught them at the workout. And two of the guys were like, "Hey, I want to learn some. I want to learn some running stuff as well." And so then we all met up again, and now we all are kind of training together. So all five of us would go actually meet up with the Xavier track and the cross country team in the fall, and kind of be preparing for this major 5K. The five of us do really well at the first 5K, which is actually coming up. The anniversary of that is coming up, the Saints 5K. And then other people just started wanting to train with us. And so that turned into an event that we call Soulful Sunday, where we'll run for about an hour. We'll ask people to move for about an hour. And then one of our team members is also a yoga instructor, personal trainer, and he does a 30-minute yoga session after. And that became Soulful Sundays. And that's grown from maybe 8 to 10 people meeting up on a weekly basis. So now we get about 40 on a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. like clockwork. And it's gone from beyond just a run club meetup, right? There are folks in our community who are now our close friends, and who put together gatherings for each of our team members' birthdays on a seems like on a monthly basis now, twice a month. Um, and it's become more of a family, and
That's cool.
it's so interesting because a lot of the people in our community, like before this started, they probably hated running,
Right.
you know, and
Yeah.
and now they're doing it every day or every week at 7 a.m. on a Sunday. And I just think it's so interesting that people are willing to do something that in their mind they don't like or even hate, just to be around other people, just to have community. And that's the real value, not only of run clubs, but of any solution that's being built right now for health, is that we need to help people connect again
Yes.
because we're starving for it so much.
Yes. I could not agree more. Like I said, I've been in Boston, New York, and Chicago over the last 3 weeks, and we put together a couple of runs, one in New York, one in Chicago. And I don't know, 5 to 10 people that we all just ran about an hour or so with. But then we probably spent 2 or 3 hours after that run in community, hanging out with each other, talking to each other, connecting. And I've learned so much about them in that 1 or 2 hours than I did for the last 3, 4, 5 years that we've been connected on
Yeah.
social media. And
Hmm.
you talking about health scores, like that alone has probably elevated my health score in just having connection to these people.
Yeah.
Now, when they post something, it has more meaning to me
Absolutely.
than zeros and ones and an image.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just explained the why we're starting Bear Connect. I know you hadn't asked me about it yet, but like I think we need both. I think we need the constant awareness of what our friends and our family members are doing online through online channels, through stories on social media, through posts and things like that, updates. You know, this family member is graduating from high school, he's going off to college, or uh, you know, I just got a promotion at work. But then we also need time where we're together in person, fellowshipping in community, being able to like, literally touch your family
Yes,
and hug your family, and it's absolutely hug your friends. These things are so necessary. And then go back to the regular day to day, but being able to stay in touch that way, but like leaning on and staying rooted and grounding in that actual in person experience, that we come from.
it's interesting because I often get questioned about how do you do so many interviews and how do you do so many podcasts? And the reality is because I want to connect with people and I want to get to know them on a deeper level. Because you posted pictures from a wedding not that long ago. And even though I wasn't at the wedding and I don't know who got married or whatever happened there, because I had already talked to you, I had pride. I was like, yeah, look at this. This is great. And it would even be deeper if we had had, pardon me, lunch or coffee together, and
Hmm.
then I saw those pictures, it would have even more meaning.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You gave a little bit about Bear Connect, but I want you to expand on it because I find it interesting that what started out as an app, which would be virtual and connecting people globally, you're bringing into a locale now. So I'd love to have you expand on that a little bit more and why you're doing that too, beyond that.
Yeah. I think actually an in-person center has always been a part of our vision. So there's a project at Stanford called Human Wide. And Human Wide is this approach to health where essentially individuals get to pick their care teams. So you get to pick your personal trainer for your physical activity. You get to pick your primary care provider for your general health, your nutritionist, your mental health care provider. And when you think about the wheel, or for those who are listening, when you see the wheel of health, these are all categories that sit within our platform. And so from the beginning, I had this vision of expanding a healthcare system from Behr Health or from the app. So that's always been a part of the vision to have, but have more or less a clinic. And I think that's where I was originally thinking our physical, infrastructure would go. But again, as I've spent more time in these community settings at different run clubs, at different just community health and wellness organizations, um, I'm realizing more and more that this is the actual solution. It's not healthcare. Healthcare only accounts for 10% of health outcomes. The majority of health is driven by how you engage with the world. What do you do on a day-to-day basis? What are you buying at the grocery store? What is your work environment like? Uh, What are you doing on a Friday night? Are you on a run at a run club, or are you at a happy hour and then at the club, at, the real club?
Right.
And what I'm envisioning now, instead of um, building a medical system, not that we won't have you know health screenings and health providers, because again, it is still a part of health. I'm really trying to build a community space for people, whereby everything that we do in that space allows people to do what they do on a regular basis, but in a health promoting way. So Bear Connect will be a co-working slash wellness center or studio where during the day people can, it'll operate more or less like a coffee shop, self-service coffee shop, where you can work, study, meet with people, just read, whatever you do during the day. But again, it's in a health promoting environment because everybody that's a part of our community is on that same mission. And then in the evenings, we'll do run club meetups, we'll do yoga meetups, we'll do meditation meetups, bike meetups, try to get a little bit of something for everyone on a weekly basis. And this is going to be the first instantiation of, one of our, again, we don't even know exactly what we're going to call them long term, but right now, wellness centers that have all of these different components, but doesn't feel like something extra for you to have to do. It's just something that flows naturally within the
Right.
community that everybody just becomes a part of. Because when you look at the longest lived populations in the world, like places around the world where people are living well into their 100s, it's almost like health is just seamlessly integrated into their lives. It's not a matter of them going to the gym at 5 a.m., 7 days a week. That most people in these blue zones and in these
Yeah.
communities aren't really doing that.
Nope.
I don't even know if they even have gyms that are open at 5 a.m. They probably say that you should be asleep at 5 a.m. You know, and I really want to model that. But to your point, or to our both of our points, having a place where people can connect. You know, our mission at Bear is, again, maximize health in the Black community, and our brand promise is to be your health partner for life. We got you. And with Bear Connect now, the brand promise there is come find your community. Because before anyone cares about any of this health stuff that we're talking about, these steps that you need to take, this diet that you need to eat, people need to feel like they belong. And so,
Yeah.
first and foremost, come find your community at Bear Connect.
And for those of you who are listening or watching, if you don't know what the blue zones are, if you're scratching your head and asking yourself, what is that? There is a show on Netflix about the blue zones. I think there's 7 of them across the country, one of them in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and these are populations that live, like Kwame said, 90 to 100 years old. And honestly, there's not there. I've seen the documentary twice, and I don't recall a single mention of going to a gym. Most of these people are going to their garden to get their fruits and vegetables out of their own backyard, basically. And I believe there's one town in Italy. I don't remember the name of the town, but it's basically all built on stairs. And so as
Yeah.
they're walking around their town, it's just all up and down stairs, and that's how they stay active. So it plays right into what you're talking about because it is community, it is activity, but to your point, it's not 5 a.m. at the gym. You mentioned this is the first. So is there a sheet of paper at Behr Health headquarters that has a list of locations and
Mm-hmm.
potential dates for the future then?
Yeah, not potential dates yet, but definitely a vision of there being a nationwide, worldwide network of Bear Connect centers, all connected to the app.
Yeah.
So long as you're on our app, we know your history, and we're able to provide you tailored care wherever you go. You can find our community, and essentially, your app will be your passport to all of our spaces and all of our experiences. We're actually shifting the framing of what we offer to from pay $10 a month or $100 per year to access our app, to pay $10 a month or $100 per year to be a part of the Bear Health community. Within that, you get this app, which gives you access to our spaces, discounts at different health and wellness products and services throughout your area, as well as entry into our challenges. And again, this is like your passport to health. And the reason why it's so important that we do have the app, despite the real solution being the community solutions, is that we have to track this. We have to measure it. We can't improve the health in an important way if we aren't measuring it. And so you have to be on the app. We have to know your health score, and you have to be tracking it, day to day, week to week, to be a part of what we're offering. But we're saying know your status, and then come get around other people who are already on that trajectory, and we'll all seamlessly, ultimately achieve our goal.
I don't know if you did this on purpose or accidentally, but I teach business at the college level, and you have just basically given me an entire term's worth of information for entrepreneurs because of all the different pivots and ideas that you've either moved to or got rid of or adapted as part of, which I think is the key to being a successful entrepreneur is adopting other ideas and bringing things in and then removing things as they no longer fit the
Yeah,
company and the business, as opposed to just continuously riding that. So, as a adjunct professor lecturer, thank you so much for for
yeah.
giving a class on
Happy to help.
entrepreneurialism.
Happy to help. Yeah, and that's actually and again, I don't know if it's a unique insight, and I don't know if it'll be necessarily the truth, next year or 2 years from now. And that's really what entrepreneurship is about. And especially now more than ever, you just have to be paying attention to how things are working, how people are moving, how people are engaging with products and services, how people are feeling about life in general, because that's where you'll find the solutions. To me, right now, if you want to achieve your health goals, if that's one of your objectives, which I highly recommend that to be one of your objectives, you need to first have that objective. You then need some sort of time bound test of your progress on that objective. So if you say you want to run more, you need to schedule a 5K in 3 months, let's say, to where you test. I want to be able to complete a 5K. Great, let's do that. And then you need a community to do it with. If you have those three things, the objective, the time bound test, and a community to do it with, I don't need to tell you anything about your VO2 max or what your stride
Right.
rate should be. I don't have to tell you any of that stuff because it'll just happen naturally because you'll be in a community where everybody's kind of in the pursuit of learning all of that together, or there are people in that community who can help you and guide you along the way, as opposed to you feeling like you need some super structured programming or some PhD in nutrition to get there. We actually, when we get together, we eat healthy. It's just that's the solution. That's the most effective solution. And not everybody wants to be in community in person, and then that's part of the value of our online challenges. Not everybody wants to come to a run club meetup. Maybe they feel
Right.
intimidated or whatever, but they might join a virtual running challenge where maybe they don't even have a profile picture on their account yet, but they just want to see how they do. And then eventually, once they're maybe halfway uh, up the challenge in the middle of the month, then it's like, hey, I'm ready to go to the run club. And we again try to provide a variety of channels for people to be a part of community and be in environments that are health promoting. Because I promise you, like these again, I I was never a person that joined like steps, challenges, or trackers. I don't know. Maybe on some level, I thought that like that's what's that about? It's kind of I don't need motivation from other people to pursue my health goals. But now I find myself literally I got a notification that my ranking went down by one in the running tracker, and I went on. Now I was planning to go on a run for sure today, and I literally ran right before our podcast, but now I have to run because now I'm in fourth place instead of third, and I'm not okay
Right.
with that. And it's so funny actually. The other day at our one of our run club members had her birthday celebration, and we did the wine tasting. And at one point, they all looked over to me like, "Hey, Kwame, who is this guy in the running challenge?" I'm like, "Oh, you're talking about this guy?" Like, yeah. They're like, "Why is he in the challenge? We're not okay with this. He's destroying. He's dominating all of us." It's like it now it's like this big deal. Again, this was so surprising to me that they would take a moment out of this birthday celebration to address this issue. But again, that's the reality of, or that's the influence of being around other people. Now, sometimes the gap is so wide that it's like, well, people aren't even going to try to just throw their hands up, and so you have to be mindful of that. Like you want people to be around others who are kind of within their proximal range of development.
Mhm.
So that's again another thing that we have to learn. Okay, so now we have if you're a super duper serious runner, okay, you're in this challenge, and if you're just getting in, so again,
Yeah.
maybe we do this, maybe we don't, but These are things that you just always have to be paying attention to. All right, so now maybe I add a caveat to that 3 step thing that I gave. It's like you have to have an objective, have a time bound goal, and you have to be around people who are pretty much in your proximal range of development for you to feel comfortable to pursue that, right? So again, these are just things that we're learning on the go.
100%. So a couple more questions for you. You mentioned that the score, the health score that you're using, is similar to a credit score, and I was wondering if that was done on purpose because it's easy for people to know what a credit score is.
Sure. Yeah, I think, again, I actually didn't develop the algorithm for the health score. It's developed by a company called Dakadu, who's been an incredible partner to us over the past 5 years. However, I chose Dakadu for a specific reason, and it was actually partly that reason. There are tons of scoring platforms and mechanisms. There's inner age scoring, or biological age scoring, where it tells you what your age is based on like your physiology overall. And I'm trying not to use medical or science words, but it didn't work just now. Um, but I think many people who listen to your podcast are familiar with that concept. But that, again, that was another thing that is one too a bit abstract, right, to me. And then again, also that most people in the Black community aren't aware of. Not That's not to say that Black people wouldn't be able to understand, what an inner age score is. It's just not a concept that's like mainstream at all. And but a score and a number that changes on a regular basis
Right.
is something that we can all wrap our heads around. And your inner age score wouldn't change that often. Again, we need real time feedback especially early on, as we're trying to train ourselves to understand how our lifestyles are influencing our reality, or I mean our health. And well, there was actually a book I read called Hooked: How to Build Habit Forming Products. Highly recommend this book for your class. But it's basically, the hooked model is essentially what social media taps into, um, better than anything else. Honestly, that has been designed, has tapped into. So there are 4 steps. There's the exposure, right? You were made aware of something, a product or service, and based on that exposure, you are going to take an action. You may download an app, you may like the photo, you may you take some sort of action, and then you're going to expect some sort of result, right, or reward. And this third step, this reward step, is the most. I don't know if it's the most important, it is a very important step in this wheel of the hooked model, where typically if you take an action and you get a result, and you take an action, you get the same result, and you keep doing that over and over again, eventually you get bored, right? They have these studies where they basically set up mice. If they push a button, they get the treat. They push a button, they
Right.
get the treat. Eventually, they stop doing it. But if only sometimes they push the button, they get a treat, then they'll do that all day. They'll do it all day. So what these it's called variable reward,
Hmm.
and that's essentially, and you may be familiar with this, and that's what social media has tapped into. Every time you swipe, you might see something entertaining, you might see something informative, you might see something sad, whatever it is that your heart is looking for, your mind is looking for. And we'll just do it all day, every day.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And then the final step is investment, which is where you say, for example, add content to a profile. This is the part that makes platforms particularly sticky, meaning like there's resistance to leave the platform or
Right.
delete the platform because you put so much of your time and energy and money into it. So on social media, it's like you built this profile with a repository of your life over the past 5 years, right? Those are investments that you make. Um, in our app, you've submitted data. You building up a brand where you're always at the top of the steps tracker, or just different ways that people are investing. And then eventually it gets to the point where you don't even need an exposure. People are just there. The exposure just happens internally, and then that's why people will open Instagram. Now, ideally, people open our app to find out what other people in the community are doing for their health, and just to check their health score. And so that's really what the health score taps into, is that variable reward. Every time you open it, it might be up, it might be down, and now you want to know why.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So my last question for you is the aunt who said to you, "Hey, we need to have you talk about, healthy eating as the resident vegan in the family." What does she say to you today now that she's seen where this one message to you has grown to this point and
Mhm.
obviously knows that there's something further beyond that.
Yeah, no, I mean she's super supportive to
That's
this day.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, she's a subscriber. I mean, it's anytime we launch any type of product or new campaign or anything, she always supports it. Um, every time she's in town and we're doing like a tabling event, she comes by and takes a picture with the team. And now that I've recently been telling this aspect of the story a lot more, now when she comes around, I'll tell the interns like, "Hey, this is the aunt that actually sent me the message," and they're like, "Oh my god, wow, that's so cool," you know. And so, no, she absolutely loves it. And again, we're still pre-launch. You know,
Which
we.
is amazing. It
we s-
really is.
mhm.
With where you are prior to pre-launch, which I know when we talked the first time is intended to be this fall. Uh,
Yep.
it's incredible to see one the changes that have occurred and still have this date set for you, and being able to get it out there and knowing that you've already been successful with it.
Hmm.
Again, I've known you for about 10 minutes and I feel like I'm like a proud family member and a member of the community for the things that you have done and how you've gone about putting this together because I don't know if you've ever read Simon Sinek's book called Start With Why, but he says people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And my belief is your business is going to be successful because your why is so strong. You didn't come out of the into this conversation and say, "Well, I wanted to make 1 million, 10 million, $1 billion."
Hmm.
You came out and you said, "I wanted to address the disparity in the ages that the Black community is expected to live to at 72 versus the rest of the population at 78." That is a super strong why and is guiding you as you make your decisions. And I have the belief that that's why you are going to be successful with this
Yeah,
business.
I appreciate that.
Kwame, where can people, we've talked about it a whole time for an hour now. Where can people find the Behr app? Where can they find you? How do they get in touch with you and how do they join some of these steps
Yep,
challenges?
absolutely. Yeah. So for about 2 more months, we're going to be on our beta app, which is the Dakadoo app. And so if you do want to find out your health score right now and you want to join our challenges to be a part of our community now, you'll need to go to the App Store and download Dakadoo. That's DACADOO and use access code Run Try Bike, all lowercase or all caps, all one word. Just make sure it's all together. You'll need that access code to enter the app, create your account, and then complete your initial health score assessment. It'll take, depending on how quickly you answer the questions, 3 to 5 minutes. We'll ask you about 14 questions about your overall health and wellness, and this will just be a snapshot. I wouldn't treat that initial score as a representation of your true score because you may have told us that you exercise 10 hours a week, but then it turns out that you only exercise one and a half, you know, and then so your score will reflect that over the next couple of weeks. Or you said you do an hour and maybe you do 10, you know, it just depends. And so look at that as a snapshot, but then wait a couple of weeks for your true score to be reflected. Make sure you connect a tracker. So Fitbit, Garmin, Apple Health, Google Fit, Samsung Health, all of the health trackers integrate with our app. So you don't even necessarily need to open the app to log a workout or again, you know, submit data or contribute data that's going to improve and change your score over time. Then I highly encourage people to join the challenge. We're always doing challenges with different giveaways. We gave away 2 tickets to Super Bowl 59 at the beginning of this year. If you completed 59,000 steps in a week, you were entered in for a chance of that to win those tickets. That was an incredible experience, and again, that was a significant impact that we made on an individual's lives, and they've been a significant part of our community since. But that's really what it's about. You know, obviously we can't impact everyone on that level, but just being able to communicate that to the people through content, just showing people what we're all about has absolutely been super valuable to our overall experience. If you don't want to download the Dakadoo app, um, in 2 months, we're going to be releasing the official Behr Health app, where you'll be able to type Behr Health in the App Store, download our app, Android or App Store. You'll still need a access code, and the way that you'll get your access code is by becoming a member of Behr Health, where again you'll get the app, you'll get access to discounts that'll be in app as well as in different stores that we partner with, access to Behr Connect, access to our challenges. That would be $10 per month or $100 per year for access to that app, and that'll come out As of right now, our go live date is October 6th. So we will see if we honor that. My birthday is actually on October 7th, and we're planning to do a app release party on October 7th here in New Orleans at Behr Connect. So, instead of an album release party, we're doing an app release party, but we still bring some of the album release party vibes to
I
the
love
whole
it.
experience. Yeah. And so, but yeah, until then, also follow us on Instagram at Behr Health. Follow me on Instagram at Kwame Terra. And yeah, if you are struggling with your health, I would love to talk to you so that we can learn as much as we can about how to solve this problem.
And we'll put all of that stuff in the show notes. Kwame, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you sharing your time with us.
Absolutely, man. Happy to be here. Can't wait to be back.
For those of you that have stuck around with us for an hour, thank you so much. Time is the greatest gift that you can give to anyone, as Kwame said earlier in our conversation. So I want to thank you for giving me the greatest gift, which is your time. Join us next week on the next Fireside Chat, where I'll be joined by Sophia Camacho, and we'll be talking about their world of being a non-binary athlete in the endurance sports world. So thank you so much for your time. We'll see you next week on the Fireside Chat, brought to you by Run, Try, Bike.